The mantra coming out of Tinseltown post-strike in 2024 was survive until 25, but now that the year is over, it's questionable that they survived 2025, a year that started with Hollywood literally on fire and ended with a fire sale, leading to many in the industry to openly ponder, is this the end of Hollywood as we know it? And it may very well be, considering that they decided to fight the coming AI apocalypse by putting originality on life support and giving us yet another year of unnecessary remakes, prequels, sequels, midquels, spin-offs, reboots, live-action remakes of animated films, and continuing to piss off half the country. Yes, again, it's that time of year, ladies and gentlemen. We have once again assembled our team with a special set of needs to sift through the stats, massage the numbers, and pound the analytics. This is the top 5 Hollywood disasters of 2025. And because my editor doesn't like ties, we'll start with number 6, Disney's Doctor Who.
Yes, Queen! Gay, 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 gay. Gay, 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 gay. Gay, 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 gay.
After retconning the entire history of the show, replacing the first Doctor played by the legendary William Hartnell with a little black girl, Doctor Who was almost canceled after the disastrous run of the first female Doctor played by Jodie Whittaker. But at the last minute, the show was saved by the man who successfully relaunched the series, Russell T Davies, and he returned with David Tennant so they could both commit career suicide. And to guarantee that everything that could go wrong would, they partnered with Disney. After David Tennant passed the flaming torch to Ncuti Gatwa, it failed to attract viewers, because RTD and his comrades at the BBC and Disney decided to follow up Ncuti's first season that had the worst ratings in the show's history with Ncuti's second season, which had the worst ratings in the show's history. And more importantly, it failed to chart here in America. And that probably has everything to do with what the show's turned into.
Sad, really, isn't it? People spend all that time making nice things, and other people come along and break them.
Gone are the days of the enigmatic Doctor traveling through time and space with his trusty companion and the TARDIS, getting into fun, thrilling adventures that more often than not ended as tales of morality. Now we have an annoying Doctor with an insufferable companion traveling through time and space in the TARDIS, getting into a pretentious, inane, and dumb series of events that more often than not end as state-sponsored propaganda from the point of view of an elitist, champagne socialist gay man.
You've tapped into the proper LGBT side of everything.
It's 2025. It's like, and you also have to look at what the others are doing. I find a lot of the other science fiction franchises very straight, very masculine, very testosterone-y. And so that's our space. Do you think that's where Doctor Who can fill a space?
A series that featured things like bringing back classic characters to vandalize and crying, cultural appropriation and crying, queerness and crying, racism and crying, anti-capitalism and crying, evil straight white men and crying. Gone are villains like the Sautarans, the Autons, the Weeping Angels, the Vashnarada, the Cybermen, the Daleks, to bring on the worst villains of them all, a combination AI incel and a straight conservative podcaster.
Come here. Hey, come here.
And the biggest takeaway of all, the introduction into Doctor Who lore of the hashtag RIP Doctor Who.
I knew this would happen because it was leaked online. Hashtag RIP Doctor Who.
That's right, the hashtag we all got trending after the disastrous Timeless Children killed Doctor Who is actually canonically in the show, proving that fan criticism is taking up a lot of spacious real estate in Russell T Davies' giant head. And we need no further proof than this last, in more ways than one, season, which only served as a giant middle finger to the fans. And after the comments of a couple of actors from Doctor Who, why would the fans feel any different, including actor Jinx Monsoon, who said, "Who gives a f what bigots think? For every transphobic, racist, bigoted Doctor Who fan that we lose this season, there are going to be 3 to 5 new fans who are coming in for the representation," which was followed by the comments of the show's star, Ncuti Gatwa. "Don't watch, turn off the TV, go and touch grass, please, for God's sake."
Well, look how that turned out.
And in the end, the audience left, Ncuti Gatwa left, and Disney left. That's right, Russell T Davies' new Doctor Who was even too woke for Disney. And what some may call Doctor Who Season 2, and others may consider it Doctor Who Season 15, and some may say it's Doctor Who Season 41. In truth, it's Doctor Who's last season. Number 5, Black Snape. Harry Potter may very well be the last healthy intellectual property in Western civilization, the last story that hasn't been vandalized beyond all recognition. Despite the god-awful play, although credit for bringing Tom Felton back, and the diminishing returns of the now canceled Fantastic Beasts series largely because they were written by J.K. Rowling, who's not a screenwriter, they didn't take place in Hogwarts, and they got rid of Johnny Depp. And the supposed controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling for having a very common-sense approach to one singular issue that I happen to agree with. Harry Potter has not only survived, it's thrived. There's new fully cast audiobooks out there that are selling like crazy. Her books have sold over 500 million copies. There's a best-selling video game out there. The Wizarding World and both Universal Parks are always packed. In Orlando, there are days you have to wait 4 hours if you want to ride Hagrid. That's why a lot of fans were cautiously optimistic when HBO announced that they would be doing a Harry Potter series, and said the show will be a faithful adaptation of J.K. Rowling's novels. And if it was, the Harry Potter show had the potential to be the biggest scripted series in the world by far. The key word there is had, because it all depended on the casting, and they f***ed it up with the casting of Papa Esiato as Black Snape.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
I know you can't say too much about it, but you are going to be playing Severus Snape in the Harry Potter reboot. I mean, what's the sort of sense of responsibility in taking on the mantle of that character?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's a huge sense of responsibility because it's such a beloved story to literally billions, I would say, probably. It's something that's really important for me to be able to see if I can play a part in recreating that level of fantasy and imaginative joy for a new audience.
Right.
And the resemblance is uncanny. And yes, he will be known as Black Snape for the rest of time. I don't make the rules, I just make the observations. And this will go down as not only one of the biggest unforced errors, but forced errors in Hollywood history, and one of the worst casting decisions in Hollywood history. And as far as that faithful adaptation is concerned,
this is a lie.
and gaslighting casting is still on the menu, boys, because you can try to take the DEI out of your industry, but it appears you can't take the industry out of your DEI. And as soon as this casting was announced from the well actuallys, there was the good old, this character was not described specifically white in the books, except for the times he was described as white multiple times in the book, something you would know if you had read them.
Snape's sallow skin had gone the color of sour milk.
I am, said Snape. He looked slightly paler than usual, and his cold black eyes glittered strangely.
Snape looked paler than usual, and angrier. He closed his eyes, and suddenly he was Voldemort, looking into Snape's pale face.
And Snape's face was like a death mask. It was marble white.
Then, of course, there's the sketch of Snape by J.K. Rowling that says, and I quote, "Snape, as I always saw him." Now, we have nothing personal against Papa Esiato, but the justification for his casting will probably be that Harry Potter is not inclusive or diverse enough, which couldn't be further from the truth, because in the series, we'll probably get expanded roles for characters like the Patil twins, Cho Chang, Lee Jordan, Dean Thomas, and a character that would be perfect for Papa Esiato, Kingsley Shacklebolt, who eventually becomes Minister of Magic. Now, there are race swaps that have worked, and many that haven't, but this isn't Perry White, the Kingpin, Nick Fury, or even Commissioner Gordon. This is the iconic Severus Snape, who was integral to the Harry Potter story, and changing his race would create a lot of issues thematically, including but not limited to Sirius Black, Harry Potter's godfather, and James Potter, Harry Potter's father, being racist. I guess they won't be remaking that scene where James Potter hangs Black Snape up by his trousers under a tree, but we're just going to call this what it is, a stupid creative and business decision that was completely unnecessary. A virtue signaling casting based on identity over authenticity to attract an audience that would have already showed up, but now you're going to alienate, whether Harry Potter fans want to publicly admit it or not. In the end, HBO went full Netflix with their casting, which should have been a warning sign considering HBO, Warner Brothers, and this show are all about to belong to Netflix. Number 4, The Witcher Season 4. There's a good chance by the time you see this segment, you'll either have completely forgotten The Witcher Season 4 came out, or this might be the first time you've heard of its existence, because it came and went like a fart in the wind. And I guess it all depends on your proximity to the fart.
Who did this to us? God damn it, I'm here on business!
But as with many things with Hollywood these days, the most interesting thing about The Witcher is not the story itself, but the story around it. And if it's remembered for anything, it will be just as another epic modern fantasy destroyed by ego, hubris, the message, and a woman who has a clear disdain for the source material.
In the books, all of the characters are met through Geralt. So you get Geralt's impression of them, and then you get to learn to meet them. And I wanted the world to see Ciri who she was first.
Which was evident when Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich and her team strayed from the source material in Season 2 and 3, and openly mocked it, according to former writer Beau DeMayo, who famously wasn't the only one voicing concerns with the show. There was also The Witcher author Andrzej Sapkowski.
Maybe I gave them some ideas, but they never listened to me. They never listened to me.
And of course, the show's star, Henry Cavill, who was both a fan of the books and the games. And it's not like things were going great when Henry was there. They were already bleeding audience, but the show officially died when Henry left due to his frustration with showrunner Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, who was in turn frustrated with Henry Cavill because he wanted to do pesky little things like be good at his job and do right by the lore and the fans.
I am a huge fan of the books anyway, and so I campaigned really, really hard to try and get as much of Geralt from the books into the show, as much as Lauren's vision would allow, as much as her plot and framework would allow. This is very much Lauren's own version of the story, and so if you revise too much down that route, it can start to pull you off the story which Lauren's writing. And so it was a little bit of a tricky one, a little bit of a balance. But I did as much as I could, and of course, as I say, I just campaigned really hard to get that character from the books.
But now Lauren Hissrich had finally gotten everything she wanted, complete control of an epic fantasy series on Netflix without the shackles of Henry Cavill, who would be replaced by Liam Hemsworth, and it was as bad as everyone thought it would be. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 59% from all critics, 33% from top critics, and a 20% audience score. On Metacritic, it has a rather high 59 from the critics and a 1.7 from the audience. And on IMDb, each episode averages roughly a 4 out of 10.
What's happening?
It's time to spit.
All of this was earned because it was abysmal. Poor Liam Hemsworth, who never had a chance, picked up where Henry left off, as the titular character of The Witcher was diminished and barely in his own show. But Liam didn't care as much about the games or the books as Henry, and it showed. And the plot goes something like this. Everyone's still looking for Ciri. The evil mage Vilgefortz is looking for Ciri. Yennefer is looking for Ciri. Geralt is looking for Ciri. Nilfgaardian Emperor Amir, after finding out he has a fake Ciri, is looking for Ciri. A new character named Leo Bonhart is looking for Ciri, and because she's having an identity crisis, Ciri is looking for Ciri. Why is everybody looking for Ciri? Because she is the girl who is the key to everything, a trope that might have worked a decade ago, but it's played out now. Good luck, Witcher 4. And this is the season we get lesbian Ciri, proving showrunner Lauren Hissrich can adapt something from the books, but of course she removes all complexity because they couldn't portray a lesbian relationship as abusive because that never happens. But in truth, this show should not be called The Witcher, it should be called The Yennefer. They took 2 chapters out of the book they were adapting and expanded it to make her the primary protagonist.
For me, I was very interested in seeing the female viewers, what they could be, how do we appeal to female fantasy viewers? Because there's a lot of us out there.
And the rest of the plot goes something like this. Boring Liam as Geralt goes on a side quest with Lawrence Fishburne narrating his every inner thought, lesbian Ciri, Yennefer gathering the girl bosses, verbal diarrhea exposition by campfire, more lesbian Ciri, gay Yasker,
what the heck is happening?
Feelings in forest, more lesbian Ciri, the annoying and insufferable rats, more lesbian Ciri, all centered around General Yennefer and her feminist Avengers. And the only great moment possibly in the entire series is when bounty hunter Leo Bonhart, played brilliantly by Sharlto Copley, goes up against the rats who not only look like Twitch streamers, but they act like them because all they do is steal stuff and essay each other, and he brutally murders them in the most satisfying of manners. The problem is, the intention was for people to feel sad about this murder when all it brought was unmitigated joy. And Netflix thought it was a good idea to make a series about the rats, but then they actually watched it, thought better of it, edited it down into a movie, and then released it when The Witcher Season 4 came out, hoping no one would notice. And one could argue that's how Netflix felt about The Witcher Season 4, which they barely promoted. They released one clip and one trailer. Both were ratioed into oblivion, along with every single promotional post on every social media network. The show never reached number 1 on the Netflix top 10, and somewhere Henry Cavill is laughing. And after all this, I bet everyone's feeling really good about Netflix controlling things like DC Comics, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and The Lord of the Rings.
Hey, did you see that?
Number 3, Captain America 4, Brave New World.
I'm Captain America!
When you get to the 4th movie of a franchise, it's difficult enough to maintain the momentum. What makes it harder in this specific case is making the bold decision of not having Captain America in your Captain America sequel.
Where the is Steve? Steve Rogers? He's not here.
Instead, the titular character will be Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie, who was gifted Captain America's shield from Steve Rogers that should have gone to Bucky, a suit from Wakanda, what looks like Ant-Man's helmet, and he looks like a Power Ranger. And that was only the beginning of the problems, because Captain America Brave New World was the very definition of production hell, including multiple delays, moving it from 2 prime summer spots into February, possibly to recapture the magic of Black Panther by putting it in Black History Month. A title change from New World Order to Brave New World, because Disney was worried that the term had been co-opted by conspiracy theorists who believe crazy things like globalist bankers and shadowy organizations are trying to establish a single authoritarian world government. Ridiculous.
My experience of working with Julius was kind of unique.
There was also the multiple script rewrites, which led to the now on-brand Disney Marvel multiple reshoots. That included reshooting the entire film, ballooning the budget to astronomical proportions. It also doesn't help that this film required homework, including the D+ series The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, one of the most hateful things Disney's ever made, that will only be known for Sam Wilson having sympathy for terrorists, and this.
You have no idea how complicated this situation is. You've got to do better, Senator.
And no, John Walker did nothing wrong. The good or bad news is, you didn't need to watch any of the previous Captain America films, but you did need to see The Incredible Hulk and The Eternals. Why?
Honestly, I don't remember.
It ended with a giant celestial in the middle of the ocean. And between the release of The Eternals and Captain America Brave New World, there were 8 Marvel films and 9 live-action series where they didn't acknowledge it at all until now. And it turns out that giant celestial in the middle of the ocean is made out of the other unbreakable metal in the MCU, adamantium, which has caused an international crisis as governments converge on Tiamat. And imagine doing all that homework for a movie that goes something like this: Sam Wilson posing as Captain America in a worse costume, and Joaquin Torres posing as Falcon in a worse costume. And they are later joined by Ruth Bader Bat Seraph, who in the comics is a Mossad agent turned superhero, Captain Israel, but then for some strange reason retconned in the film as a former Black Widow. I wonder why they did that. Are up against Giancarlo Esposito playing Giancarlo Esposito, and eventually President Ross played by Harrison Ford, all while trying to thwart a conspiracy that's trying to engineer a war between America and Japan. Better to offend Japan rather than Disney's closest ally, China. And all these events are being engineered behind the scene by Tim Blake's The Leader, who's portrayed as a piece of broccoli, who has also been replacing General Ross's heart pills with Hulk pills. And The Leader isn't doing this for financial gain or power, he's doing it to make President Ross look bad, which eventually he actually does. When it all culminates in a final battle amongst the cherry blossom trees, where the powerless Sam Wilson, who only survived because he was gifted a suit from Wakanda, defeats the Red Hulk with a lecture that makes the sun is going down big guy from Age of Ultron look Shakespearean.
Well, I know you've done some terrible things. Now, I might be crazy, but I think you're trying to change. Now's the time to prove it to the world. Prove it to Betty.
And I don't think it shocks anyone, including Marvel, who internally knew they had a turd on their hands, that what was greenlit as a sequel to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which ended up being a bad remake of Captain America Winter Soldier and calling it a Captain America sequel without Captain America, when in truth it's a sequel to The Incredible Hulk without the Hulk, was the first of 3 flops for Marvel in 2025. And it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that in a year where Marvel introduced their new Captain America, 8 short months later, they had to bring back the real one, because repeat after me, Steve Rogers is Captain America. Our next one has a lot in common with our number 3 Captain America 4, number 2 Ironheart. No, Perry, not that Ironheart. This Ironheart. Both were adaptations of the all-new, all-different era of Marvel, one that was so destructive they have yet to recover. Both were mantles passed down from iconic legacy characters to diverse characters solely based on identity. Both come from an era when Disney Marvel was casting writers and directors based on their identity. Both have ballooning budgets due to the fact that they were reshot, re-edited, and delayed to the last minute possible. Because in both cases, Marvel knew internally they had a couple of turds on their hands. And there's no better evidence of this than Ironheart sitting on the shelf a full 2 years after its completion, being one of the lightest promoted shows in Marvel's history and being released in 2 parts within a week. And despite getting the last-minute assist and validation from the guy whose mantle Riri was going to steal, Robert Downey Jr., with some truly authentic videos.
Dominic Thorne, I have seen all of the first 3 episodes of Ironheart. I love it. We have so much to discuss.
Long story short, Iron Man loves Ironheart.
That's so
There was nothing that was going to prevent this very predictable disaster, because Marvel made the biggest mistake of them all, aside from releasing it, by choosing to properly adapt the story of Ironheart. Because as comic book fans will know, Riri Williams' origin is not one of a hero, it's one of a villain. As you may or may not know, Riri Williams Ironheart made her debut in Wakanda Forever, where she helped the isolationist ethno-state of Wakanda fight off an immigrant invasion. And after introducing us to the very likable Riri Williams, the very definition of grace and humility.
Just to let you know, your girl finna be bigger than Jobs. Right. Bigger than Gates. Right. Bigger than Pym. Right. Bigger than Stark. Yeah. Come on.
Make it stop. The story settles down into a traditional villain origin story. After being gifted an internship in the isolationist ethno-state of Wakanda and turning that into a 4-year postgraduate grant at MIT, our villain Riri Williams gets kicked out after selling completed tests to students. Also, she could get funds to build an iconic and undeniable Iron Man suit that's better than Tony Stark's, which of course she steals.
And you're at least as smart as that Tony guy, right?
I don't have $1 billion. And I can't compete without resources.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
And following that, she steals the proprietary intellectual property AI of the isolationist ethno-state of Wakanda to power her suit. And Riri accidentally creates an AI copy of her dead best friend.
Natalie? Who the hell else would it be, bitch?
But Riri is out of money, and after briefly contemplating working for a corporation so big that it wouldn't notice when she's stealing from it, does not decide to sell all the tech that she has developed to corporations for potential billions. Instead, she decides to make thousands by joining a criminal organization run by the Hood, who was race swapped for this show, so we will call him Da Hood, and the Trans Titans.
I'm kind of one of Madripoor's most wanted. Tutu.
What the f***? After leaving behind a trail of bodies that includes a lot of innocent working class security guards and a tech billionaire who wanted to grow food, Riri eventually loses her suit, then makes another one out of her dad's car, loses the AI copy of her best friend, betrays the Trans Titans and their leader, the Hood, steals the Hood, and sells her soul to the devil. Like I said, pretty typical villain origin stuff, considering Riri Williams is depicted as a liar, a cheat, and a thief who forgoes the privilege of a free education and forgoes the opportunity of using her genius intellect to make billions so she could join a criminal organization and make thousands. Because with Ironheart, Disney Marvel set out to have a superhero show that depicts the lived-in experience of marginalized people set in the south side of Chicago, featuring parents and friends getting offed in drive-by shootings, diverse people committing breaking and entering, theft, extortion, and homicide, diverse women fighting in fast food establishments.
Because Chinaka Hodge is a black woman, our writer. Because Sam Bailey and Angela Barnes are black women, our directors.
Directed by 2 black women, it's relying on those voices to tell the story.
Got hair, makeup teams from Chicago. There's sneaker game galore.
I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black. I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black.
That's why it should be no surprise that in a year where everything from Marvel bombed, Ironheart was the worst, and the only thing it will be remembered as is an undeniable, iconic failure. Before we get to the #1 Hollywood disaster of 2025, we have some very worthy dishonorable mentions. HBO and Naughty Dog decided to take a page out of Marvel's book and adapt some source material that the fans absolutely hated. In this case, the game The Last of Us Part 2, which was adapted into a TV show, and shockingly enough, they found a whole new audience to hate it, and it deserves to be on our list for this line alone.
I'm gonna be a dad.
All's fair. Not only did somebody hire Kim Kardashian as an actor, they wanted her to act like a lawyer. A show that debuted with a 0 from Rotten Tomatoes and is currently sitting at 6%. And proving that we are in late-stage Hollywood as well as the end of days, it was picked up for a season 2. War of the Worlds, a remake of the H.G. Wells classic filmed during the era of COVID, made specifically to stream on Amazon Prime, and for some reason released 5 years later. The famous Patriot Ice Cube plays a Homeland Security officer who has to save the world in a green screen office because they couldn't afford furniture from alien invaders who forget to turn off the internet, and they are defeated with the help of Amazon delivery drivers and Amazon gift cards. Fantastic Four, what could possibly be worse than casting Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, the smartest man in the Marvel Universe, and a decision as bad as race-swapping Severus Snape? That would be the female Silver Surfer. And there's no better way to put it, this decision was just f***ing dumb. And Disney, Marvel, and Kevin Feige can't get out of their own way. They finally get the rights back to the first family, the Fantastic Four, and they finally make a movie. Most of the casting is okay. It was going to be hard enough with Pedro Pascal, but they guaranteed its failure with the female Silver Surfer, especially when everybody got to see her. And while the Fantastic Four was Marvel's highest-grossing film this year, it was also their highest-grossing flop. Let's slip one in the end here, which could be considered a 1.5. Will's coming out scene in Stranger Things Season 5. That's right, you may want to sit down for this one, but Will in Stranger Things is gay. But not just regular gay, he was so gay it gave him superpowers. Having a scene where Will comes out is not a problem and completely unsurprising. It's where they, for lack of a better description, decided to put it, spending an exorbitant amount of time towards the end of the penultimate episode just so Will can tell everyone that he's gay, something they already should have known. And it came off as a weirdly staged monstrosity of pandering, a scene that they took 12 hours to shoot, and all that was accomplished was a lot of comparisons to Game of Thrones Season 8 and the most memeable Hollywood moment of 2025.
Hope you didn't want grandkids, Mom, because this queen thinks girl parts are icky.
Y'all know y'all gonna have to turn up tonight, right? Ain't no party like a Diddy party. Dance.
Our number one is the most predictable disaster, not only of the year, not only of the decade, not only of the century, but possibly in Hollywood history. The live-action remake of the film that started it all for Disney, Snow White.
We have a lot of fun diving into our expansive library spanning nearly 100 years to bring beloved tales to life in new ways for today's viewers.
And let's keep in mind that a lot of people who just so happen to make a lot of money, including Bob Iger, thought this was a good idea. And it turns out they were all retarded. An ill-conceived concept from start to finish. This film never had a chance, and it started with the casting. Somebody thought it was a good idea to cast Gal Gadot for her acting as the evil queen and Rachel Zegler as the fairest of them all. And then someone else thought it was a good idea to actually let her speak publicly, often. Tales will be told, songs will be sung, and books will be written for what followed, the most well-documented PR disaster in cinema history.
Oh, no. No. Oh, no, don't you dare. Don't you dare.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. Like, who has been the most exciting person for you tonight? Oh my God. Besides, but took the words out of my mouth. Besides, I'm a narcissist.
If I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
You two clearly get along and respect and love each other.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Hater.
All right.
No,
It's no surprise Rachel was not there earlier today when Gal received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights. Come on. Go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business. Thanks.
It got so bad, a Disney executive had to fly to her house to tell her to shut the f up. And this public relations catastrophe went on for 2 years, and believe it or not, it wasn't all Rachel. There was backlash against Gal Gadot. There was backlash against an actor who wasn't even in the movie, Peter Dinklage, for opening his pie hole and costing 7 dwarves their jobs.
They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White.
Yeah.
7 dwarfs.
Sure.
Look, take a step back and look at what you're doing there.
Yeah.
You know, that makes no sense to me.
Well,
you're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the f are you doing, man?
Which contributed to those now on-brand massive Disney reshoots and a ballooning budget. Still, someone at Disney thought it was a good idea to actually release it. Instead of showing reverence to the Walt Disney classic that helped launch the studio, where the Wicked Queen, jealous of Snow White's beauty, orders the murder of her innocent stepdaughter who just wants to find herself a good man, but later discovers that Snow White is still alive and hiding in a cottage with 7 friendly dwarves. Disguising herself as a hag, the queen brings a poison apple to Snow White, who falls into a death-like sleep where she can only be revived by true love's kiss from a prince. In the live-action version made for a modern audience, for some reason Gal Gadot is jealous of Rachel Zegler's beauty and orders the murder of her not-so-innocent stepdaughter who just wants to become a girl boss. After taking refuge with 7 nightmarish demons who she gets to boss around, our hero, the poison apple, shows up and puts Snow White in a death-like sleep. But it doesn't quite do the job when she's revived by a failed actor. And again, a lot of people at Disney were paid a lot of money to make this subversive, soulless piece of corporate drivel, but maybe I'm being too harsh. The only thing they missed was the narrative, the charm, telling the right story, casting the right people, the iconic look of the dwarves, the personality of those cute little animated animals, the song I'm Wishing and Someday My Prince Will Come, and replace that with a song about female empowerment, while giving us a good old-fashioned girl boss movie infused with communist propaganda made by a multinational corporation, mind you. That's a kid's movie. And in the end, unsurprisingly, it was a historic flop, one for which Rachel Zegler was the catalyst, costing Disney hundreds of millions of dollars, and turning the film into a well-earned cultural punching bag and making Rachel Zegler the poster child for everything that's wrong with modern Hollywood. The original Snow White represented everything that was good about Disney, and the modern live-action remake represents everything it's become, and the perfect metaphor for the decline of pop culture. And that's the end of our list, ladies and gentlemen. The top 5 Hollywood disasters of 2025. A year where Hollywood had to face all the consequences of their ill-timed strikes from 2 years ago. The AI revolution, massive layoffs, corporate mergers, creative bankruptcy, runaway production, runaway audience, and somehow they'll have to get this all fixed in 2026 while not pissing off half the country and facing the possibility of another strike. As always, if you don't agree with our list, leave a comment below, or better yet, write your own. Please like, share, and subscribe, and you can enjoy another video right now.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.